Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks, Travis. Thanks, JC, Jeff. And I'm going to share something really exciting with you today. Many of you are in a situation I was in. Just give you a quick story. I was 52 years old, sports chiropractor, lifted and worked out all my life, but I beat my body up along the way, with the heavy weights. By the time I was 52, I had 3 joints replaced. But more important than that, I was out of the game, right? I couldn't lift heavy weights. Now, I could go do light stuff in classes, but I couldn't lift heavy weights, and everything starts changing, right? Your body composition, your pain, your sleep, your energy, your vitality. Well, it was about that time that we learned a new technique that the Japanese Olympic athletes were doing. We brought it to the United States and we perfected it in our Olympic athletes. That's where we started. Think Lindsey Vonn, Bode Miller, Michaela Schifrin, Ted Ligety, Billy DeBond, Sarah Hendrickson, all athletes. 2 of them never had won gold medals. 4 had never won gold medals, took them to the top of their game. And now, over the course of the last 4 years, I've been launching this all across the United States. Some of my clients, Lakers and LeBron James, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, Dr. Mercola, Mark Wahlberg, Nick Cannon, Thor, God of Thunder in Australia uses these. But more exciting than that is what it can do for the 258 million people across the country. So I'm going to share with you a hack, an edge. I'm going to share with you how to cheat, how to trick your body and absolutely accelerate your exercise results to a level probably most of us never thought was possible. And look, we all know the importance of high intensity exercise. Here's what I teach. If you don't feel the burn in exercise, I know it's fun, but if you're looking for adaptation, change, you are wasting your time if you're not in the burn. Because the only place you get nitric oxide and growth hormones in the burn. Now, you're in 2 of the top gyms in the country, right? So they're really good at getting the burn out of you. But here's the challenge. When we're teenagers, no big deal, right? We have natural elevated nitric oxide and growth hormone. By the time we're in our mid-20s, it's half as much. By the time we're at 40, we're operating on 20% of the natural release. That's the non-exercise release of growth hormone and nitric oxide. And here's what starts happening. Aging starts sooner when you're low on these 2 things. Body composition changes. Pain starts to creep in. Then we get the blood pressure problems, the atherosclerosis, the blood sugar insulin resistance, the hypothyroidism. Then we start worrying about osteoporosis and brain degeneration. If you could maintain elevated nitric oxide your whole life, you would never have a problem with any of these disease processes, probably till you're 75 or 80 years old. Because nitric oxide, I'm not talking about taking beads. That's different. Natural exercise produced nitric oxides like rocket fuel, maintains healthy blood flow, energy, performance, brain, heart, organs, joints. It's antimicrobial. I can't tell you how many people I've had come out of long haul COVID when they were able to start doing quick exercise that gets the burn. But this is the big one. There is no substance in nature, in medicine, in science, in research, in your human body, other than growth hormone that will take you back in time. Growth hormone can reverse the manifestations of aging by 5 to 15 years. It can reduce wrinkles, tighten saggy skin, decrease body fat, make you look and feel decades, not years, decades young. You know this. Here's the problem. Very few people who are exercising are getting big levels of growth hormone. Why? Number 1, for people exercising, it's that 3rd category right there. We tend to gravitate towards light and medium intensity exercise, where we're having fun, we're bouncing around, we're kind of touching the burn, but we're not able to stay in it. I call that medium intensity exercise. That's kind of like Forrest Gump going for a run. Remember Forrest? He went for a run. How far did he run? He just kept running and running. What would have happened if Forrest would have taken a right turn and JC and Travis said, okay, let's go hit the stairs? And he'd have stared out for 2 or 3 minutes. He'd have hit the burn. He would have hit the fatigue, and he would have massively increased growth hormone. But these long, medium intensity exercise sessions don't do it. And then we got people with physical limitations. And look, if you're at the gym, you don't have the time limitation, but what if we could squeeze time a little bit and make this faster? Well, here's the breakthrough. Put these bands on your arms and legs. Now, first thing to share with you, it's not a blood pressure cuff. Blood pressure cuff is wide and rigid. It's designed to cut off blood flow. This is designed to safely slow it down. What's a good way of understanding it? Imagine we turn the garden hose down a quarter of a turn on the flow of blood exiting your arms and legs, not cutting it off. It's completely safe. You'll barely even feel that anything's going on. But now the muscle does not have as much oxygen. It's like putting an oxygen mask. You know, there's people that train at altitude or on a treadmill. Imagine putting an oxygen mask on your muscle. It would have less oxygen. So you're doing something light, like walking on the treadmill or doing a class or working out with one of the awesome trainers there. And within 30 seconds, you're feeling the burn and your jaw hits the floor. You're like, wait a second. I've only been doing this 30 seconds. Why does it feel like I've already been going 20 minutes? Because your oxygen has dropped. And that's how you create the burn. You see, in the gym, when you're doing everything you're doing a certain amount of work to go get the burn, right? And then you're trying to stay in the burn. This eliminates 80% of the work to go get to the burn. It makes it easy to stay in it. And you get a deeper fatigue. In the very shortest summary I can give you, if you put the bands on at any level, handicapped, all the way up to an Olympic level athlete, you're going to fatigue faster, but deeper. And remember this, if you fatigue deeper, if you create more burn in your muscles, you will change faster. You'll go from training like a recreational athlete to like an Olympic level athlete, but it'll be easier and faster. Why? Because you hacked. It's basically a hack. It's what Todd calls it. It's one of the greatest biohacks in exercise. Here's a study on nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is very misunderstood in this country. You don't take beets and elevate nitric oxide for exercise results. You can take beets and fuel. I'd encourage you to keep taking your nitric oxide supplements, but you got to get the burn. Just know this, as soon as you feel the burn, you're getting nitric oxide. That is like a shot of rocket fuel. And then after exercise, because you feel the nitric oxide, right? You're euphoric. You feel like a Superman. You're all warmed up. Your brain's on fire. You got that rocket fuel flowing. But then after exercise, the secret sauce comes along. 15 minutes after you get into the burn. Now, here's what's important. You have to stay in the burn for 3 to 4 minutes. Most people can't keep the work up to stay in it. Or you got to get in the burn and out of it for 10 to 12 minutes intermittent, right? You feel the burn for 20 seconds, you take a break. Those are the only two ways to get growth hormone. In this study of middle-aged men, 55 years old, doing light exercise, the group that put the bands on, 25 times increase in growth hormone. Let me put this in perspective for you. If you put these bands on with JC and Travis and do some fun workouts that are going to teach it, you're going to double, triple, quadruple, tenfold, some of you 25 times increase in your growth hormone because you're going to hit a deeper fatigue. And you are going to change, and it's going to blow your mind. You're going to think it's easy, and you're going to burn weight, build muscle, tone up. Let me show you a couple studies, right, that's follow the science. In this study in Japan, middle-aged people, 30 to 50 years old, recreational exercise people, saw muscle size changes in 2 weeks that typically takes 3 to 4 months. Take that in for a second. You can build muscle in 2 weeks, putting the bands on every day or every other day, that typically takes 3 to 4 months. Want to build strength? Light weights equals heavy weights for improving strength. The USA Olympic weightlifting team uses these. It's just a secret. They won't tell anybody. I taught them how to use it. So now you can build that strength without loading up your body with super heavy weight. Heart benefits. Studies show, and there's 5 different studies, blood pressure, ischemic heart disease, obstructive pulmonary disease, atherosclerosis, All of these things are improved. But look, you know this. If you exercise vigorously, you dramatically reduce your chances of heart and blood sugar problems. This just elevates that. In this study in the Scandinavian Medicine Journal of Sports, perfect exercise, blood flow resistance training for people who are pre-diabetic or type 2 insulin resistance who may not be able to sustain. Look at those 3 red words there. They're not saying people who can't go for a walk or do yoga. No offense, yoga people. I know there's some pros who can get the burn. We're not talking light, fun, recreational. What they're saying here is that people need high intensity. They need to feel the burn to maintain, regulate blood sugar, and this exercise does it. Even the brain functions better. When you stimulate the burn, your brain is fueled by its own brain-derived nootropic factor. Let's talk about a big one, hypothyroidism. Janine, gym owner, been training for 15 years. What's the problem? She's training for an hour to 2 hours, medium intensity. Ladies especially, if you are doing long exercise, more than 40 minutes, medium intensity, you're going to depress your thyroid gland and you're going to release stress hormones. So if you're starting to notice any of you're working out, then you're tired, then you're sore the next day, then you're dragging, you're having the reverse effect on your body. You're overtraining and you're releasing cortisol and you're crashing your thyroid. When she switched, same thing with Amber, the person Travis was telling you about, Amber Cavett, 50 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes on the vibration plate, couldn't lose a pound. 50 pounds she's trying to lose, and she's killing herself on the vibration plate. What's the problem? It's long and medium, it's not enough burn, and then it starts producing cortisol, which crashes your metabolism. Both these ladies, as soon as they switched to quicker workouts, quicker, bands on, get the burn, go fast, get them off, no pain, their thyroid hormones turned on, their metabolism went through the roof, and they both started seeing results that just absolutely shocked them. Why? Ladies especially, here's what you probably weren't told. Your thyroid does not function by itself. Wait a second. So why am I treating my thyroid with supplements and hormones? And well, here's how your body was designed. You have a daily release of thyroid stimulating hormone, ladies. It's a natural release that tells your thyroid how much thyroid to produce. The thyroid doesn't act on its own. As you age, it slows down. As you go through childbearing years, it slows down. Now, the only thing you can do to maintain elevated levels of thyroid stimulating hormone is vigorous exercise. Feel the burn. Don't take my word for it. This is right from the American Thyroid Association's website. Every hypothyroid patient should do, it does not say a 45-minute Zumba class. It doesn't say go for a bike ride for 2 hours. It doesn't say walk the dog. That won't do it. High intensity exercise. When you get the burn, JC and Travis are going to show you how to take that to a new level. Guys, too, you're going to increase thyroid stimulating hormone. The thyroid turns back on and it increases metabolism. So here's the summary. Vigorous exercise, think 15, 20, 30 minutes, no more, getting the burn versus long endurance training, complete opposite effect on your thyroid. One promotes it, one suppresses it. And here's what most of us end up doing, right? We go through our life and our exercise is not creating growth hormone or metabolism. And then we look at the other side of the equation and we focus on these major hypocalorie diets. Now, I'm not going to pick on any because they're good, but here's what I'll tell you. Many of you have experienced it. When you reduce calories dramatically, shakes, keto, intermittent fasting, great stuff. It'll work without elevating thyroid hormone from vigorous exercise. You start to lose a little weight, right? It's all great. Then all of a sudden you stop. You crashed your metabolism adjusted to your reduced calorie intake, and you stop losing weight. And then you chuck the diet, right? Because these are all fads, right? And then we start eating normal again. What happens? We put it all on plus. Anybody ever done that? Put it all back on plus? Everybody does that because you are dieting to solve a metabolism thyroid growth hormone problem. You're approaching it the wrong way. Fix growth hormone thyroid problem, keep your metabolism elevated at these two awesome facilities, get the burn, and then any smart dieting you do is icing on the cake. All icing on the cake. But the cake in dieting is, the meat in dieting is the hormones. The potatoes, icing, that's the actual calorie restriction. Harvard's already explained it. You don't have to take my word or any of these ladies. Harvard already explained it. It's called afterburn. When you get the burn in exercise for a minimum of 3 to 4 minutes continuous or 15 to 20 minutes, intermittent, meaning you feel it, you get in it, take a rest, hit it again, your body increases these hormones and it goes into afterburn. You're increasing the amount of calories you burn for the next 24 hours. How would every one of you in the room who wants to lean up and get a six-pack and be chiseled and cut up, what if you could burn an extra 600 to 1,000 calories at rest, right? You're sitting on the couch, you're sitting at your desk, you're sleeping, and you're burning an extra 600 to 1,000 calories of fat. That's exactly what happens. Harvard's already proven it. But you have to do high-intensity exercise, or now you can hack or trick or cheat the body into thinking you're doing all that by putting the bands on. That's why everybody puts on the bands. Leaner, more muscle, more energy. Look at Sarah. Couldn't move the needle. Couldn't move it. She's killing herself in the gym. She's doing light and medium intensity exercise, which is very slow adaptation. She put the bands on. She cut her time. She's no longer sore. And I mean, she is all chiseled and cut up. She went from completely out of shape to, and she works out no more than 20, 25 minutes in the bands. Now, you can put them on and go longer. You can go shorter. You can combine them. JC and Travis are going to show you all kinds of cool ways to do it. But the bottom line, in all these three ladies, they changed their exercise to more efficient, less work, but dramatically more fatigue and dramatically more elevated growth hormone and nitric oxide. They went from training like a lady, a typical lady in America, to an Olympic level athlete. Just take that in for a second. What would I look like if my body went from training, from typical exercise, to an elite level athlete? I'd look like one of those cut up, lean, fitness, Nordic track, Peloton models. That's exactly how you will eventually look. Look at these weight loss stories. These people couldn't move the needle. Why? Because they get so big they can't even exercise. For these people, we start doing light movements, progress them into exercise. Holly lost over 200 pounds. Stan lost over 100. How about athletes? Do you have any athletes with you right now, or you have any in your family or know any? Let me ask you a question. Most of them are recreational and amateur. What would happen to these athletes in any sport, golfing, speed training, powerlifting, basketball, football, baseball, volleyball, pickleball, if they fatigued deeper and elevated their growth hormone? I can tell you what happened. Whether a 5-year-old kid or an 80-year-old pickleball player, their performance would go through the roof. Colin went from a 4.62 40 to a 4.35 in 8 weeks, adding it to his speed training. Emily, high school volleyball player, added 6 inches to her vertical. These aren't kids that play once a year, right? 3 months. These are year-round high school athletes that went and put the bands on and immediately jumped up to Division I scholarship level. Here's Rick Burkholder, Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, he uses them. His family uses them. They use them in the training room. They use them in the weight room. The executives are using them. Here's Dr. Mercola. Many of you might know that name. Completely changed from doing endurance training to light, short BFR sessions, 20, 30 minutes. Got his health back, his blood sugar balanced, blood pressure came down, put muscle on. He went from cortisol, from running all the time, to rocket fuel and growth hormone. Dr. Oz, same thing. Look at all these USA Olympic teams. Here's the point of all these stories. This path has already been blazed for you by the smartest people in the country. Todd Durkin's one of the top, if not the top trainers in the world. Jeff and Travis are also two of the top trainers in America, right? There's a reason they're using this. This is a scientific breakthrough. There's some of our celebrities: Mark Wahlberg, Nick Cannon, Thor, natural bodybuilders, USA bobsled team, kids. Every kid that you know, 5, 6 years old, 7, soccer, these light sports. What if we could put demands on, completely safe, and we could get a little more fatigue out of them in a little quicker time? They get faster, stronger, more explosive. And this is exactly what's happening. Seniors and physically challenged. I could spend an hour right now talking to you about all the people in wheelchairs that we're helping, and seniors. Look at these two. JC, 74 years old. Not Jeff Case JC. This is JC, Dr. JC in Tyler, Texas. He put an inch on his arms and 2 inches on his thighs in muscle at that age in 1 month. John, 77 years old, same thing. Now, how's this possible? Here's what you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. You have nitric oxide and growth hormone in your body ready to be released when you're 5, when you're 50, when you're 80, when you're 100. The only question is, can you get it? Most people in their 70s can't get it because they can't exercise at the level required to go get it. Now with the bands, easy to go get the burn. So we're talking all ages. I got 5, 6-year-old gymnasts we're turning into freaks, putting the bands on them for 5 minutes, doing some lunges, some jump squats. Here's some of our workouts. Complete upper body workout, 15, 20 minutes. Complete lower body workout, 12 minutes. We've got shorter ones. These are perfect for you in the gym, right? You warm up, you do a little light cardio, put the bands on, go through an intense workout, cool down and stretch. You will completely change the game. You can do it in group settings, okay? JC and Travis are going to share with you some of these protocols that they're going to start implementing. Now, if you go out and research BFR, we launched this industry here in this country. We pioneered it. Okay, 7 years ago we started. We are the only company that's ever done safety studies. You can buy gadgets, you can buy belts. Let me tell you this, do not go out on Amazon and put a $49 belt on your arm and crank it down. It's not safe, it's uncomfortable, you don't know what you're doing, you can't control the pressure. There's a reason all the Olympic teams and NFL teams are using our bands. These are the highest technology, but they are safe because of the design, and you'll see that when you put them on. By the way, in our safety studies, does not increase pressure on your arteries because it's not pushing hard enough, and your heart isn't under any increased oxygen demand. I'm going to wrap up here and take questions, but just know we've got a big support system. You've got a local BFR expert right there in this emerging technology in these two awesome fitness centers. If you ever want to come on Sunday nights, just remember Sunday nights at 9 o'clock. JC and Travis will get you plugged into our newsletter. You ever want to come on, ask questions? Hey, my brother this, my sister that, my son this. Well, I'm available every Sunday night. We'll be talking tomorrow night about heart health. We also have a Facebook page. I want to stop there and thank JC and Travis and then open it up for any questions. And most important, man, I'm excited for you to try the bands. The first time you try them is it's just crazy, the pump and burn you feel in them. So Travis, I'll go back to you first.
Well, let's give you a round of applause. Thank you. The main reason that people can feel a reduction in pain in their body, the pain that comes from inflammation. Could you just state that real quick, Dr. Mike?
So whenever you have pain, there's an underlying problem. And 99.9% of the time, as a result of what's ever happened, tendonitis, fibromyalgia, arthritis, gout, rheumatoid, regional pain syndrome, sciatica, neuropathy, there is a loss of oxygen or good blood flow into those tissues. As soon as you exercise and feel the burn, your body releases nitric oxide and the blood thins. So all of a sudden you get this rush of blood flow into all of your tissues. By the way, everyone, when you're in there bouncing around and you're getting the burn and all of a sudden your brain is like, oh, I could write a book right now, right? It's euphoric. You're loosened up. That's increased blood flow. That's nitric oxide. Well, that also goes into your joints and reduces all that pain and inflammation. Most people who have pain and inflammation can't exercise hard enough to go get the nitric oxide. So you're in this catch-22. You got to be careful not to hurt, but you can't go get the burn. The bands eliminate that, make it so easy to get the burn, and then all of a sudden you're not hurting. Then you can push more into the burn and you can go get the growth hormone.
Really good, really good. I love your point that you made about the ladies and increasing their tone and that kind of thing, increasing it in ways that they never did before. Is the main reason behind that because of the increased acceleration of metabolism, therefore fat loss, and the increased growth hormone that's going to help them with the muscle building? Would that be like the two main things to attribute that increase in tone that ladies can experience, and men, but what would be
right? You just mentioned the result.
Right.
The result is we elevate post-exercise growth hormone along with thyroid stimulating hormone. The body goes into elevated metabolism for 24 hours. Fat burn kicks on, protein synthesis, and your body's in this rebuild, but it's burning fat and building muscle. Let's go back to the trigger. The trigger is very vigorous exercise, right? What happens when we look at all these runners and swimmers and great people, bikers, they don't have a lot of muscle, do they? Right? They're not elevating growth hormone. Okay. And people who can't lean up, they're not elevating growth hormone. So the trigger, everyone, to make it very simple, the burn is the trigger. All you got to do is say, how long was I in the burn? Did I get the burn? How deep did I go? How long when I was in it? And it will directly relate to how much your body changes. If you touch the burn and back off, which is most people do, most people go, ooh, there's the burn, and then they back off, right? Because it's hard. The burn's where it starts, everyone. It's not where it ends. It starts at the burn. All this work between here and the burn, I mean, it might be fun, but if we're talking adaptation, it's a waste of time. Nothing's happening.
Now, there is a protocol for how long, right? How long were you in the burn? But you do like to limit the amount of time that people will wear the bands to 20 minutes. Is that right?
Well, I mean, we have pro and Olympic athletes that go longer, but everyone, when you put the burn on, you're not going to make it 20, 30 minutes. You know that, Travis. Right, you're going to get into the burn and you're going to be doing biceps and you're going to tap out at like 2 minutes each muscle group. But it's not going to hurt. You're going to take them off and you're going to feel like you're just amazing. But when you get into that burn, there's no 30, 40 minutes of hanging out in the burn. You get on the elliptical, everyone, or the bike or swim, and you do it right, you're going to tap out at 3 minutes. Not 45 minutes on a Peloton. 3 minutes, you're tapped. It's over. You're not going anymore.
Yeah, we've been using them here for like the first half of the 45-minute workout, and then it's amazing how you feel in the second half too. When the bands come off, it gives you quite a burst. So as far as sport goes, we have a couple world champions amongst our Journey community, and those world champions are in their respective age group and gender group for DECA. DECA is a type of exercise where there's a lot of high repetitions going on for a minute or two at each station, and that's if you're doing really well. Could you see this being something that'd be helpful for improving those DECA times?
Oh yeah, they'll blow their results out of the water. You're going to fatigue deeper. Okay. Just everyone know, I don't care what the exercise is, a person trying to get up and down of a wheelchair, or an Olympic athlete running sprints or weightlifting, if you fatigue deeper, more burn, faster and deeper in exercise, you adapt more. How did we turn Michaela Schifrin into the #1 women's skier of all time? She wasn't even top 10. She put the bands on and hit a deeper fatigue. Now she's one away from catching Lindsey Vonn. But this is how she trains. If you ever went to the top, put a tent around her and nobody gets to see what she's doing. Travis, she's in there for 3 or 4 minutes getting the burns. Like you said, I do the bands for 20 minutes. The next 20 minutes are crazy, right? It's like, where'd this all come from? Olympic athletes are doing the same thing. They're putting it on before, getting the burn, pumping the nitric oxide, getting the rocket fuel, and then they're going and competing. So brings up a great point, Travis. We can do starters and improve performance. We can train some day. We can throw some days into elite level athletes training, move their fatigue point. Then other days we can put the bands on at the end and do a finisher, right? All 3 of those are going to move the needle in 3 different ways.
And my final question here, and I don't know if the group has other questions, but is there a minimum number of times that you recommend for seeing results using the bands, a minimum number of times per week? And then how long do you think somebody should anticipate, like how long should they try it so then they can really see the change in their body and say, oh, okay, these bands work, so number of times per week, and then, how many weeks before they really start to see results from using the bands?
If you do this in 2 weeks, you're going to be shocked. 2 weeks. Now, here's what I would do. If I'm coming to the gym 3 or 4 days a week, I would come in, I would implement the bands with Travis and JC, then I'd get a set. And the days I'm not at the gym, I would do a little 3, 5, 6 minute workout at home up and down the steps. Because every day you elevate growth hormone, your body's staying in this rapid adaptative cycle. Growth hormone elevates and then starts coming back down at 6 hours. It has about a 12 to 15 hour impact on your body. Okay? So if you get the burn every day and elevate growth hormone every day, you're going to stay in this rapid adaptation cycle. If you do it 3 days a week, you're going to hit it, break, okay? So if you want to see the fastest results, people say, hey, Dr. Mike, how often do you work out? You're 59, you're all cut up. I only work out on the days I want growth. I only put the bands on the days I want growth hormone and nitric oxide. Only on those days.
Is that like only on days that end in Y?
I get up in the morning. Here's my workout routine. I get up and I have a 5 to 6 minute stairs, wall sit. I fire up the engines before I go to work. And then 4 or 5 days a week later in the day, I have 12 to 15 minute strength training sessions. And I'm shredded, 6-pack, muscles, 59, with 3 joints replaced. And you ought to see what I eat. Hamburgers, pizza. I mean, my metabolism is just cranked. So, I mean, I have to eat. So, I mean, that's the benefit of increased metabolism. So just think the more days you get the bands on, the more you're going to stay in this rapid fat burn muscle building cycle.
Yeah, you touched on this throughout your presentation, and Dr. Williams and I were talking about this just the other night. When somebody loses weight, like let's say you have person A, they've always been at this weight throughout their life. They have a metabolism that supports them staying at that weight. Person B just lost 50 pounds to get to that weight. And then whether you want to talk about set point theory or whether you want to talk about homeostasis, in theory, that person B is normally going to need to eat a lot less calories to stay at that weight than person A, who is naturally there. Would you view the bands as being a way to combat that, because you can finally accelerate your metabolism more, so that way you can have the metabolism of person A to maintain that weight loss? I mean, that's just something I'm theorizing about, but I'd love to hear your perspective on it.
Well, we have our focus on the wrong place, and everybody that's dealing with weight, I would encourage you, because I care and I love everybody. I had to reshape my thinking, and you're seeing this now coming out. The latest research is stop looking at the scale and measuring body fat. Tell me how much muscle you have, and I will tell you how healthy you are and how long you're going to live. So ladies, the first and most foremost, and anybody that's worried about their weight, the most important thing you have is muscle. You have to approach your physical fitness of, do I have muscle and strength? You can go up and down in fat percentage, but you're not going to get high blood pressure and all these health problems. But if you diet and you lose weight and you lose that muscle, you're in a bad spot. You have to maintain muscle. So the first and foremost thing you should do is maintain muscle and strength, and then say, okay, now I got my muscle and strength. Do I want to chisel? Do I want to lean? Do I want to get rid of some of this fat? Then you start playing with your diet a little bit. But you up your hormones and increase the vigorousness of these workouts with the bands. Watch what happens. Your problems may go away. You may not even need to change your diet. But when you are operating on low metabolism, low growth hormone, I mean, you're just constantly going, what have I got to do? What have I got to change? What have I got to do, right? And if you diet, and God bless keto and intermittent fasting, great detoxification. But if you do these the wrong way and you lose all your muscle, you're going to be in a tough spot.
Right.
That's a bad place to be. No muscle and a little bit overweight and not getting exercise, because then all the three metabolic syndromes come along: high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, blood sugar problems. Then you're in a tough spot.
I feel like I've been quite a ball hog over here with all the questions, but I did want to make sure that some of those things got recorded. Any questions in here? Laura had a question.
So I'm assuming that to get the burn, because of the less oxygen, you're going into like anaerobic instead of aerobic ATP production. So if you're doing that, the byproduct is lactic acidosis. How much more are you producing in the kidneys? Like, do you suggest an increase in water intake to flush the kidneys, or how does that affect them?
She's smart, Travis. This
Yes,
girl understands going aerobic, anaerobic, right? Aerobic exercise, there's not going to be any lactic acid. You got to go anaerobic and burn muscle glycogen. But here's what people think. Oh, I got lactic acid all throughout my body. No, I got it right here in my muscle. It's just local lactic acid. So I'll tell you, and when you do this, here's the answer. You're going to get the burn, and 30 seconds later, it's going to go away. You don't have to do anything different than you would normally do. Hydrate. But people say, oh, I'm going to have all this lactic acid. Well, the burn went away in 30 seconds, dude. The lactic acid's already been cleared out of the muscle. And the adaptive response is already coming. So great question. You're right. When you get into the burn, you're switching over into anaerobic glycolysis, burning glycogen, producing the lactic acid. And yes, just, normally hydrate like you would.
And she wanted to make sure it wasn't a threat to the kidneys to be producing more. Right.
No, and just know, everyone, millions of people now around the world have started doing this. There's peer reviews I've got one by 14 doctors. As long as you can exercise, this is actually more efficient than regular exercise. And I would encourage you all, go type in BFR and kidney failure, death, clots into Google. If it was out there, it'd be on Google. It's not happening. And this has been around for a long time. But great question. JC, any questions up there?
Yeah, thanks for today. We've learned so far. I know. A question regarding we put the band on our extremities. How does that affect our main muscles, like our larger muscle groups and things like that?
Two things. Number one, when I put the bands on my arms and I work my arms first, there's a crossover deoxygenation. This whole upper body is now, all these muscles are on reduced oxygen. So if I do my arms and then I go do my shoulders, chest, and back, you're going to feel your shoulders, chest, and back are going to light up really fast with light weight. Okay? So number one, it's going to cross over here. As soon as I do my arms and legs, if I don't rest more in a minute, I drop down and hit my core, you're going to feel your core light up a lot faster. That's number one. So there's this crossover benefit to working other muscles that are inside of the bands, like the core and chest. Number two, if I produce growth hormone and nitric oxide in my arm, it is going to be available to every muscle I work in a session. So if I just do core without any BFR, I probably don't get any growth hormone. If I do my core to the same fatigue, some sit-ups, after a BFR session, my core is going to have the benefit of post-exercise growth hormone because I worked other muscle groups. So the bottom line is every muscle group worked in a good BFR session gets the benefit of growth hormone and sees better adaptation. And there's actual studies on that.
That's a thumbs. Thank you, Dr. Mike. Do you have to use all 4 bands at a time, or can you just use your arms or your legs?
In the beginning, you just use arms or legs, right? So you can do a little arms, then a little legs, arm one day, legs the next. Once you get advanced at this, if you really want to crank it up, I would put on all 4 and do some multi-joint stuff, right? Like go up and down the steps while you're doing curls. You get the burn in multiple muscle groups at the same time, and you're going to elevate growth hormone levels to levels your body's never ever experienced before. Beginning, start with just 2. Get used to it. Remember that this is vigorous exercise. It'd be no different than coming in the gym and doing Travis or JC's hardest workout. It's going to put you on the floor, so you kind of want to ease into it, but you'll adapt really fast.
Another question, is this something that can be a lifelong thing, or when we are all ripped in tone, like you, Dr. Mike, do we stop?
Yeah, well, you know, this is how the human body was designed, right? We were designed to be doing this vigorous exercise. Think about it. What do kids on the playground do? Do they go for a 45-minute jog? No, they bounce and they burst and they jump and they climb and they go out and run and they're lean. And then we get into school and working and we go sit. So let's get back to burst, burn, jump, this vigorous, quick, hard workouts. That's how you stay, lean and healthy your entire life. All of our government agencies say the same thing. CDC, National Institute for Health. Adults need 300 minutes per week of vigorous. We all ignore the word vigorous and, I'm going to go for a walk. I'll do a little Zumba, right? I'll go for a little bike ride. I'll go hit some golf balls. Not going to do it. It's not going to happen. So, if you could adopt and you've done the first step, you found an awesome gym. If you could adopt a lifestyle where it's not negotiable, here's my belief. Doing vigorous exercise is not negotiable in my life. It's the most important. I'm going to find 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little more, 5 to 7 days a week. I'm not going to worry about things like high blood pressure, weight problems, and blood sugar. You got to make that decision. This is a hack and a trick to get you there easier. But if you do that, you make that one choice and stay in these gyms and follow these guys, you're going to live a different kind of life. I promise you, in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, completely different life than people who aren't doing this.
Thanks. I guess I'll throw one more question. Can you do a quick little recap on how the bands actually work?
Here's the band. It's flexible. It's not rigid like a blood pressure cuff. It's not wide. It has multiple air chambers. It can't cut off blood flow. I slide it up my arm. I snug it down with the Velcro. I take the little handheld pump. I snap it on. I pump it up to the number on the band, which is listed right here, and I'm ready to go. Took me 10 seconds. What did it do? It's a gentle squeeze. Instead of my flow of blood flowing like a 10, it's flowing like a 7. That's all. Still flowing. Now the muscle does not have the same amount of oxygen. Deoxygenated blood can't get out as fast. Oxygen can't get in. If you have oxygen flowing at a 10, think of it this way. If the oxygen flow is normal at 10, I have to go exercise at an 11. For me to get the burn, I got to exercise at an 11. I got to get after it. If we cut the oxygen flow to a 6, we don't have to go to an 11. We only have to go to a 7. So your exercise, instead of exercising at an 11, you're going to exercise at a 7. And you're going to feel a pump and a burn like you're exercising at an 11 or 12. And that's it. And it'll hit really fast. Okay? The blood is still flowing, everyone. This is the key to our design. We have the studies. The only way we can get in trouble is if we cut your blood flow off. We've studied these and pumped these all the way up to 500. They can't cut off blood flow because of the design. So think you are now only exercising at a 6, but your body thinks you're exercising at an 11. It's a hack, a trick, a cheat, whatever you want to call it. But in summary, it's like when we used to fly across country and we'd stop at St. Louis, right? Because the planes didn't go all the way across, right? Who would do that these days, right? This is the direct flight. There's no more stopping along the way. This is one of those scientific breakthroughs in exercise that just teaches us there's a more efficient, effective way.
Absolutely. Right. When we discovered Tabata, we were doing an hour of treadmill work or whatever it was, trying to do the cardio. And then we discovered that just 4 minutes, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, actually gave us better results for our cardiovascular and our afterburn. And that's why Tabata became so popular. So really, we're talking about taking advantage of science. One final question. We had one lady that had to leave early, and she said, I have bone on bone. Is there anything in this that I should be aware of where that's going to help me in that condition?
Number one, bone on bone is not the pain. Bone on bone's creating the inflammation of bones pounding each other. Mm-hmm. The inflammation is causing the sensitive endings of the bone. When you increase blood flow, it's like having an ice pack on that thing all the time. We get the inflammation out with the BFR. Number two, what's most important is those shock absorbers, the calves, the quads, and the hams are the primary absorber of the stress. So we're pounding the knee. The muscles, if they're strong, are absorbing 80% of it. If you increase the strength in the quad and the ham and the calf, because you can now do work enough to strengthen it, knees and joints bone on bone get dramatically. But my right knee is bone on bone. You'd be shocked. Now, if I overdo it, I can't run, but I can do a lot of stuff, and I've got big, healthy quads. My knee never bothers me, and it's bone on bone. So I've got big, strong muscles that support the joint, and I've got good blood flow getting in there and flushing out all that inflammation.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting in knowing what you say about the bands, because what I always tell people, being one of the top trainers in America, thank you for that comment earlier. But, every pound of weight loss is 4 pounds of pressure off the joints, right? And every time we strengthen or add muscle, right, we get to also reduce pressure on those joints. So the way that this is going to help with both those things is something that I would have said already, but I wanted her to have your response as well. So good stuff.
And there's studies on that, Travis. There's osteoarthritis studies out there. So if anybody wants to see studies, all this stuff I've mentioned, nothing I said does not have a study behind it on BFR or physiology. So it's all out there if you'd like to see it when we can make it available to you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Mike, I do have 2 more questions. 2 more questions.
Go ahead, JC.
2 more questions. One simply, can swimmers use these and can they swim with them? And then the other one is we use my zone heart rate monitors. So the question was how will this affect their heart rate or their calories and things like that while they're on the screen if they're using these. So can swimmers use them, and are the bands waterproof?
The USA Olympic swim team uses them. Number 2, and yes, you swim in these, you'll be in and out of the pool in like 2 or 3 minutes. You'll be gassed out. Just crazy how fast you get into the burn. And number 2, the heart rate, it's going to trick it a little bit, JC. It's going to elevate real fast, but you're not going to get above a maximum heart rate that you would get if you went 40 minutes. You're just going to get there in like a minute. Important to know, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow night if anybody's got concern about heart health, okay? You're not going to beat your heart so fast that you ever get in problems. That's not how the cardiovascular system works, everyone. What you want is wide, flexible blood vessels. The problem you get with heart problems is when we age and we don't maintain elevated levels of nitric oxide, our blood vessels start to become rigid and we get hardening of the arteries. And then the arteries start to crack a little bit. And then the body starts to patch those cracks with plaques and we get atherosclerosis. Sclerosis. Then we go to the doctor, and the doctor writes a prescription, says you have high blood pressure because your heart is trying to move blood through a rigid, narrow system. It's got to push harder. So your doctor writes you a prescription for a blood
Thinner.
Because it's easier to move thin blood. Vigorous exercise and nitric oxide and growth hormone have been shown in both BFR studies to thin the blood, reverse the atherosclerosis, and reverse the hardening of the arteries. It's a process that's either with your heart, your blood vessels, you're either becoming more rigid and atherosclerosis, or you're going the other direction. It never stays the same. So the important point here is you're not going to elevate, you're not going to beat your heart with so many beats per minute that you're going to get a problem. Where the problem comes in is when you allow your blood vessels to become rigid and atherosclerosis and then blood sugar problems. That's where you get into problem from lack of vigorous exercise.
I found that the only way that it affects my MyZone MEPS is if I don't show up early enough to put on the bands, and I'm still putting the bands on at the warm up. But otherwise, what's going to help with your heart rate? Intensity, repetition, range of motion. We're encouraging you to try to get 30, probably your second time around, more like 20 reps. So reps definitely help with heart rate. Intensity, these bands are helping with. Of course, when we get a little deeper into our range of motion, our intensity goes up too. So I have found that you get very comparable results on the MyZone.
Awesome. Anything else? Okay, awesome. Well, hey, I'm excited for all of you to try it. I travel all around the country, and the one thing as I do is I make myself available. So I'm available to all of you through JC and Travis. If you have any questions, have any loved ones, but try it for yourself, and you're going to love the results. And then if you think of some people you love and care about, let's help them too. Thanks for having me on today.
Thanks for being here, Dr. Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mike.
Thank you.
Bye, horses. Love you guys. All right. There's Sarah. There's Cindy. There's Kathy. Whoa. So 3 ways that members can use the bands. Cindy and I spent about $3,000 on these bands just because we believe in them. Because every set costs like $449. But if you don't want to spend $449, right, that's a lot of money, at least for most people in their budget. You can just pay $10 when you want to use the bands. Or if you want to use them multiple times in a week, I'd recommend just signing up to do our unlimited package where you're going to do $12 weekly and you can use the bands as often as you want. So that's like, some people might just want to try them. And it's kind of like, other things that we add to the facility, whether you want, we got trial packets of the supplements you try today. So if you don't want to buy a big can, you can buy a little packet for $3. If you want to just try these bands and start to feel like the results, it's just a $10 usage. Or if you're like, I'd like to use them, a few times throughout the week. And our coaches are going to be trained. They are trained to customize your routine. So then that way it'll be like, okay, because this particular exercise is only going to get you like 6 reps and we really want you to get 30. We're going to have you, instead of doing the cross behind, kettlebell, step up here, we're going to have you squat it out because we want you to get that blood flow and that burn. So there will be ways that we'll change it up if you're using them in the routine. The other thing that I want to start, and there's a sign-up sheet if you're interested, is 2 control groups. I want to do my own scientific experiment. So we only have 7 sets of bands right now. And so it's kind of limited to 7, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we currently don't have a 6:15 class. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then there's also Monday and Wednesday where it's a pretty light session. Sometimes only a couple people show up. So if you're more of a PM person, you're like, okay, I could do the 6:15 at night. There's that. Or if you're more of an AM person, you could do the 6:15 in the morning. Then I want to have like that be like a specific kind of BFR. Now, DECA might be incorporated into that because DECA is a high repetition full body workout anyway. So it would seem like the 2 would go really well together, but then there's going to be other BFR recommended exercises. So you could sign up if you're interested. We haven't determined a date yet. We want to see who is interested because we don't want to just be here with nobody here, right? So we want to see that we have several people. And you can just sign up on the board if you're interested in that. Or if none of those times work, that's okay, because you can still use them in the workouts that you come to that fits into your schedule. So it's not like you have to like be part of that in order to be part of our study. Because if you're going to consistently use them for the next 8 weeks, good news is we pretty much measured everybody with the new year. We really want to track your results. So if you haven't been measured recently, if you're not like in the new year, new you or whatever, let's do this. You've decided to use the bands, start your measurements. Let's see how we've enhanced your results over the course of probably 8 weeks. I know he says in 2 weeks, I think he's really talking about what you'll be feeling. I think in 8 weeks, we should see some significant results like, drops in body fat and increase in muscle and that kind of thing. So different options, and that flyer is over there on the board. But if you're interested, those are the ways to do it. Cindy and I believe in it. Todd's been a great mentor in our life. Him and Larry got some excellent results. And then we saw that girl that dropped to 50 pounds, and we're like, what's going on here?